More and more Australians are working from home, as we know, placing a strain on our telco networks. And as COVID-19 spreads, credit card companies are increasing payment limits. Joining me with the details is Stephen Fenech, editor of Tech Guide. Stephen, welcome. It's having quite an impact.
Hi there, Tim. Yes, it is. Yeah, we are all working from home, and not only working from home, learning from home on top of all the normal things we're doing, streaming our content and browsing the web and all of those things that we do. But the NBN released some stats to say that the network is actually coping. That they've had a study to show that pre-COVID data to now, there's been a 71% increase in data usage, but from the beginning of March till the end of March, there was, during the daytime periods, there was a 21% increase just in that period. So we have had a massive leap from the pre-COVID stats, but it's just showing, though, that the NBN is actually coping really well with the situation, with everyone at home studying and learning.
We had a really interesting story on the Business of Sport last night where Erebus, one of the supercar teams, is making medical equipment and using their expertise in that area. We've seen a number of initiatives, and now Optus is reaching out to those that work in the medical space and giving them a little bit of a reprieve. That's
correct, yeah. Or do you remember a few months back, all the talk was about bushfires, and how the telcos, Optus included, came and offered the volunteer firefighters and everyone else involved free postpaid and prepaid access to the networks. Well, they're doing the same thing now for medical workers who are on the front line battling coronavirus, and they are offering them free postpaid coverage for 3 months. So I think Vodafone joined in on that as well. You're seeing now Telstra also coming to the party and not charging anyone to excess data. So all the telcos are rallying around the customers, especially customers who are not only medical workers, but also your everyday workers who are relying on that extra data and that connection. It's become more valuable than ever. They're giving them this extra data for free, but also waiving excess data fees and other penalties.
What about MasterCard?
Well, MasterCard's, they've just announced that they've increased their contactless pay. Ever done a tap and go at the store? The limit was $100 for the contactless payment. Now MasterCard has doubled that to $200. So that reduces the risk of coronavirus. There's a lot of companies, a lot of stores are saying to customers they're not accepting cash. So the only alternative was to use the contactless payment system. But in the past, if that transaction was over $100, they'd actually have to touch the keypad and type in a passcode. So now MasterCard has lifted that limit to $200. So for the majority of purchases, you won't need to touch the keypad at all, or a pen or anything like that. And those people who use their smartphones, if you're using Apple Pay, for example, that's like using your credit card. So the limit is over $100. You can spend hundreds of dollars. And if you're using Apple Pay, your Face ID or your fingerprint on the home button will authorize that transaction. So that's still able to get you those payments well over $200 if you need to make them.
Seen some really interesting use of apps and other technology, haven't we, through this period? Zoom has literally zoomed, and there's other apps where people who are wanting broadcast quality are getting and doing podcasts and other things through their phone.
Yeah, that's right. One thing about this crisis, it's really showing us the capabilities we have with our technology, and we are coming up with ways to do this. Look at us. I'm at home talking to you on Skype, and hopefully it's still coming through in decent quality. But we are still managing to get the work done, to socialise even. So many people are posting their Friday night drinks across their house party app or Zoom or all these other conferencing apps, where they're winding down rather than being in person with their colleagues. They're getting together on these apps and still able to socialise and enjoy those drinks together.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how creative people are becoming, having a Zoom cocktail late in the day. And what about actually boosting? Because many people around Australia don't have great signals. I know that the NBN has been brought into many parts. But how can people get things better inside their own house with routers and other things?
Yeah, it's a question I've been asked a lot the last couple of weeks. this is a time when we're really taking stock of our connections and testing our wireless networks in our home. One thing you need to do, you need to invest in a good router. Anyone who's on the NBN, you've got a modem, there's a router built in. The modem works fine, but the router, the Wi-Fi part, that kind of lets you down. I think you need to maybe get a dedicated Wi-Fi router. My recommendation is a mesh Wi-Fi router. This creates a blanket of coverage over your house. Ideal for Australian customers. We live in larger homes than other parts of the world, so that's an ideal choice. Products like the Netgear Orbi, the D-Link Cover, Google Wi-Fi, Linksys Velop, they're just 4 of the many mesh Wi-Fi systems. So the base station connects to your modem. Then you've got 1 or 2 other satellites that can be positioned in the middle of your house, upstairs if you have a second story, and that will give you much wider, more consistent wireless coverage. Everyone who I've recommended a system like that to, they've always come back to me and said it's solved their problems.